In Last Epoch, we have the Monolith of Fate as our endgame, as it is one of the best places to find legendary potential uniques, targeting some exalted items, and of course glyphs of despair. Now, the late game mechanics are rather simple. If we were to compare it to other ARPGs that are on the market currently, it's a little light, but it still has a lot of depth when you get there. Now, the reason I'm making this video is in due part to a lot of feedback I get from people when they play the game and how they play it. I see a lot of people view the current endgame system very wrong, and that's what this video is going to talk about. Hello, this is Dread from Epic Builds, where I talk a lot about Last Epoch and other ARPGs and showcase the builds I work on. If you enjoy this kind of content, I'd suggest leaving a like on the video and subscribing to the channel, as that's the best way to show me that you want more of this. The biggest new player mistake I see constantly is the phrase, "I am full clearing Monolith Echoes." Why is that bad in this case? Well, to understand why this is bad, we need to first understand why people play ARPGs in general like this. Specifically in Path of Exile, a lot of the loot you get is from within your maps that you see on the Atlas. You go in, you kill monsters, they drop loot. Very simple. Now, if you go into one of these maps and not kill all the monsters inside, it feels like a waste almost, as that last monster could drop your next map, your next Exalt, your next Doctor card, your next Mage Blood. So you are incentivized to clear most of the instance every single time you finish a map. Now, this has changed slightly with the recent boss rushing strategies that have evolved thanks to the Atlas passive tree, but it generally stays the same. Kill monsters for loot inside your maps. Now, in Last Epoch, it is completely different. You will enter Monoliths, kill a few monsters here and there on the way, complete the objective, then collect your reward at the end. You also don't have to maintain a constant map pool as well, because Monolith Echoes are essentially infinite. These factors lead to Last Epoch's endgame feeling just completely different. Now, monsters in the Monolith of Fate Echoes, they do drop items, but it's random and also usually of poor quality. Sometimes you'll get exalted items, sometimes you'll get LP uniques, sometimes you get nothing. Sometimes you kill that Covenant of Dominion that took like 2 minutes to kill and it drops nothing. Sometimes you kill that trash spider on the floor and it drops like a 3 LP Ravenous Void. Who knows? The main thing you gain from killing enemies inside a Monolith Echo is stability, which will speed up your progression towards the next boss encounter. But it doesn't necessarily speed it up enough to the point where you are incentivized to clear the monolith completely. Now, normally this would be okay-ish, but thanks to how Monolith reward echoes work, it completely flips the table of how the game should be played. Monolith reward echoes can include LP uniques, glyphs of despair, runes of creation, gold, idols, experience. These are generally of way higher value than most of the things you drop inside the monolith, as it's so poor. Sure, it's beneficial to kill a few monsters here and there to the objective, but generally the reward echoes are, with a lack of a better term, the most rewarding. This ends up becoming a very different endgame loop than other ARPGs that I know of. Instead of killing monsters, it's more focused on completing the objective, like killing the spires or killing the rare monster patrolling the area. You can completely ignore every other enemy other than the objectives and still get the same outcome from the reward echo at the end, which is the most valuable part. Killing monsters does not influence how many exalted items are inside an exalted weapon reward echo, nor does it influence the chance to gain a legendary potential item on a unique echo. Now, it does influence how many items are dropped in the final chest, but generally, in comparison to the reward echoes, the chest at the end is just strictly worse, as it's completely random. Now, this means that killing monsters on the way to the objective will become more of roadblocks than, of course, actual worthwhile killing. They slow you down from getting to what really matters. Sure, you can drop a random exalted item from a pack of monsters, or you can ignore them and rush the exalted ring node and probably find an upgrade that's better than whatever you could drop from inside the monolith. This is why Last Epoch's endgame is completely different than Path of Exile's endgame, and a lot of people come over thinking that clearing echoes is generally just worth their time. It generally isn't. It's just better to get more reward titles than killing stuff in the monoliths. This leads to a few things. First off, is this healthy for the game overall? Eventually, when the game becomes bigger and when it finally releases and multiplayer comes along and more people play, people will go down the most efficient paths. And one of these is just completely ignoring enemies in the Monolith of Fate and rushing objectives. Now, you must be thinking to yourself, well, if I ignore enemies, Dread, wouldn't they kill me on the way to the objective? Yeah, if you have a bad build. Most of the best and confident builds currently in the game just glide through enemies and content, even at 400 corruption, either by killing them all as they move or just evading them. The best builds when multiplayer comes are probably going to be the ones that rush through monoliths the quickest, that can ignore the rest of the echo and finish the objectives quickly. Your two-handed Vengeance Paladin is going to suck in comparison, and it's going to leave a bad taste in your mouth when you see the Decoy Rogue becoming much richer than you, not because they have a better build or invested more, but because it just simply meshes better with the mechanics and the content. So I am not entirely against an objective-only system. But if the current endgame was to be released in 1.0, it would just be absolutely terrible in my opinion. You would have people trying to make the best build that can completely ignore the content and push the objective. Or if builds become more advanced, builds that just simply clear the screen while also rushing to the objective would be better, adding to their efficiency. I am going to propose a fix to this so that we all won't have to make super fast objective rusher builds when multiplayer comes, hopefully. Now, before I say that, you must be wondering, why do I think this is important? Why do I think that this is bad for the game? Well, generally, in an ARPG, you want to be killing monsters for loot. In a lot of these situations, you're killing the least amount of monsters possible to be the most efficient, right? Killing that random rare on the way to the objective doesn't really benefit you much. It's better just to run right past him and ignore him. That shouldn't be how the game plays. You shouldn't be benefited for just ignoring monsters, right? And that's what this echo reward system does, is make you want to ignore them. Now, my solution, I think, is that echo reward should scale with the amount of enemies killed in a monolith echo. If you kill enemies in the echo, it will drop more exalted rings for the exalted ring reward echo. If you do a unique echo, it will have a higher chance of dropping a unique with LP the more you kill in the echo. With a full clear, almost guaranteeing a 1 LP unique maybe? Same with everything else, essentially. This would make builds that aren't as fast but kill a lot fast a lot more viable in this current environment that EHG has. Having the rewards scale and change based on how much you kill almost completely kills the rushing mentality, as when you come across a rare echo reward, you'll want to kill everything in sight, the whole monolith, to just maximize your profit. And that seems way more healthy than rushing to the objective. And there also comes a lot of strategy of which monoliths you skip and which you full clear depending on what you want. Like for instance, if I'm playing like a dual wielding rogue, am I really going to kill everything in this exalted staff's monolith? But I'm definitely going to kill everything in this exalted rings monolith, right? Hopefully this is implemented, or a solution is implemented before launch of trade and multiplayer, but it beats me on what will happen in the future with Last Epoch. Maybe one day we won't have to build these stupid objective rushing builds and we can focus on more healthy build design. With all that being said, this is Dread from Epic Builds. I'll have to make more builds. Tell me what you think down below. Bye!